Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Turn the mic on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Wednesday, March the 19th. Great to see so many people in the gallery interested in what happens at council. Let's begin with a moment of reflection and respect. Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of the agenda resolution.
That council adopts the agenda for the meeting of March 19th, 2025, with the following additions. Hugh McKenzie delegating regarding the motion, review of capital budget and allocation of funds for the Old Town Hall repairs, and that the associated motion be reordered to immediately follow the delegation.
Mover and seconder, Councilors Rosier and Deputy Mayor Barber. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Item 5, delegations. We have Mr. Hugh McKenzie delegating. Welcome, Mr. McKenzie. Approach the microphone. Thank you.
Am I on? Is that light on? Oh, that's Mike, okay. So, my name is Hugh McKenzie. Thank you. Yep. My name is Hugh McKenzie. I moved to Aylmer about 2 years ago with my wife, Dorothy. We have both retired, and after looking for a new home around much of Ontario, we chose to move to Aylmer. We purchased the Hills house, a red brick house from 1889 on Pine Street East, just around the corner from the library and the center of town. Dorothy's mother resided with us originally, however, is now resident at the aged care facility in Aylmer. One of the principal reasons for selecting Aylmer as our home was that as we drove through the town in our search, we were struck by the beauty and charm of the downtown section of Aylmer. The second reason and principal factor was the Old Town Hall building. That building was absolutely unique in my travels extensively across Ontario, across Canada, across the United States, and in some 3 years of travel in Europe. I went to university in a graduate program at Trinity College Dublin, so I drink a lot of green beer. The building itself is unique and of stunning architectural interest. I have never, in all of my travels, seen a building remotely like it. It is really special. And for me, it was absolutely stunning to see it, and to live near it is a real honor for me. The second reason and principal reason for selecting Aylmer was the Old Town Hall building. You all know the highlights of the building. It's an Italian architecture, design, and arcaded brickwork, Florentine windows that I've never seen such large, well-spaced windows in a building of that size ever in my 75 years. You all know the highlights of the building. It's a building that appears to have been of little interest to council, who continue to stand by while its foundation crumbles and weakens, a condition that, unless remedied on a priority basis, will result in the collapse of this world-class structure due to neglect and indifference. I spent 40 years as a litigation lawyer. What I did was construction, building collapses across Ontario, from Windsor to Ottawa, and up and down throughout Ontario. So I have a little bit of experience in building deterioration, delay in repair or restoration of buildings, and inevitably in trying to lay blame for the collapse of those buildings. And that was part of what litigators do in that kind of construction work. So there's not, we're not going to deal with liability here, but we are dealing with an absolutely stunning architectural gem that has very serious and ongoing and increasing deterioration issues. They have to be dealt with. I haven't read the report. I shall get that. I only made this deposition this morning, or arranged for this deposition this morning at 11 o'clock. So I've had 6 hours or so to prepare for this. In any event, something has to be done sooner than later. Let's reconsider and reevaluate the importance and value of our town, of its architectural heritage, and more specifically, of this particular structure. As a litigation lawyer, a former litigation lawyer, I specialized in building collapses and causation. I litigated and mediated actions across Ontario from Windsor to Ottawa, and at all points in between over that period of 40 years. Councillor Desrosiers has tabled a motion, it's 202-503-191, I believe, to review the capital budget and allocation of funds for the Old Town Hall repairs. That motion is before this council meeting tonight. I and many in the community, some of whom I know, are deeply concerned about the condition of the footings and foundations of the Old Town Hall building and the delay in taking substantive restorative action. The resolution advanced by Councillor Desrosiers, I don't know the pronunciations. I speak Quebec French because that's where I learned French. But in any event, Councillor Desrosiers is for council to prioritize the timely repair and preservation of Old Town Hall by using available funds, ensuring that this community asset is maintained for future generations. I strongly support and endorse that motion advanced by Councillor Desrosiers. In my construction litigation career, noted above, I learned that timely responses were the most important and critical part of the process. The rule is cost to repair increases incrementally with delay, and the delay has been significant. I wrote a letter to all members of council of the town of Aylmer on February 23rd, 2025, setting out much of the above. To that letter, which was forwarded to all members of council, 2 councillors responded, Catherine Desrosiers and Peter Barbour. I'm sorry I mispronounced everybody's names, but I'll do my best. This is my very first attendance here, so you have to bear with me, please. Ms. Desrosiers afterwards emailed me requesting a meeting to discuss the contents of my letter. I met with Councillor Desrosiers for an hour and for coffee to explain and discuss my concerns regarding the structural issues existent in the Old Town Hall structure and the critical nature and importance of timely repair. and restoration of same, and to hear her thoughts as a longtime resident of Aylmer and a member of council. The meeting was very good, informative both ways, in that we found common areas of thought on which we agreed. As I understand it, tonight's meeting shall table and deal with Councillor Desrosiers' motion, new business and matters of urgency. That new business matter is before council, and for obvious reasons, based on my 40 years' experience in construction litigation, I commend Councillor Desrosiers for bringing this matter forward to council in a timely manner, and I strongly support council moving into a brave new world and endorsing this very important motion on a critical heritage matter. I strongly endorse this motion, this proposal. The support of Councillor Desrosiers' motion is the sole basis on which I prepared for and have attended this council meeting. The subject of that motion is for council to prioritize and expedite the timely repair and preservation of Old Town Hall using available funds that are now available, ensuring that this community asset is maintained for future generations. In the existing circumstances, I strongly support and endorse this proposal and ask that council not just give the motion due consideration, but that they find a way to endorse and support it on an expedited, urgent basis, pursuant to the contents of the Town of Aylmer's expert report of IRC engineers. That report must be reviewed, tabled, considered again, and passed on an expedited basis. With old buildings, such as the Old Town Hall in Aylmer, time is of the essence. That's been my experience for 40 years. Time is of the essence. The process doesn't just continue at the same rate. It's expedited. More and more, it speeds up and speeds up. The collapse will be sooner than you imagine. It will be. That's been my experience over 40 years, and literally hundreds of these collapses. That report must be reviewed, tabled, considered again, and passed. The cost of delay only increases exponentially, and further delay cannot be considered this late in the game. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you very much for that presentation, Mr. McKenzie. Any questions, Mr. McKenzie, from council? All right. Seeing none, we have give you enough time to ask questions in one hurry. I'll keep seeing none. All right, we have a resolution. Pardon me, you can't hear me? I'm sorry.
They said that they can't hear you. So is your speaker on?
They can't hear me?
That's what they're saying, just speak louder.
Okay. I'm just going to speak louder, I guess, is what you need me to do. Sorry. I'm just saying, any questions of Mr. McKenzie before we have the resolution? Seeing none, we have the resolution for the presentation.
That the delegation from Hugh McKenzie regarding the motion, review of capital budget and allocation of funds for the Old Town Hall repairs be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Rahi and Councillor Oslach. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, thank you. Now we will move to the motion related to this delegation, which was the notice of motion given at the last meeting. Resolution, please.
Yep, so this would be moved by Councillor Desrosiers. Whereas the Old Town Hall is designated a historical building, a grand example of Italian architecture that is integral to the cultural life of our community that requires the significant repairs to ensure its continued use and preservation. And whereas the Elk Street project has come in $2,309,442 under budget, resulting in available funds within the municipality's capital budget. And whereas these savings provide an opportunity to allocate funds for the urgent repairs needed to the Old Town Hall, as reported in the IRC report of 2023. Therefore, be it resolved that the council directs staff to bring forward a plan to reallocate savings from the Elk Street project to fund the repairs of the Old Town Hall as recommended by the facility assessment and reports. And be it finally resolved that council prioritize the timely repair and preservation of the Old Town Hall using these available funds, ensuring that the community asset is maintained for future generations.
Well, thank you. It is moved by Councillor Josier, seconder. Councillor Rai. Council, comments, questions, discussion. I give Councillor Rosier first.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. This notice is in response to the formal motion that was brought to council at our November 20th meeting by the Old Town Hall Committee, which was unfortunately overlooked. After the matter was brought to my attention, I engaged in discussion with both residents and members of the Old Town Hall Committee, which helped to inform the details that are outlined in this notice of motion. While the IRC Building Sciences Group report includes several recommendations, two specific repairs are outlined for immediate concerns. Firstly, the foundation, which was estimated at a repair of $10,000, and the soffit, fascia, and wood trim estimated at a $90,000 price tag. The report outlines that these repairs require prompt attention. A relevant example from 2015 highlights the importance of timely repairs. Water damage caused by roof disrepair led to $30,000 worth in damage, and this demonstrates how delays can lead to much costlier repairs that could otherwise be avoided. We've been fortunate to benefit from early tendering on the Elk Street capital project, resulting in over $2 million in savings. I would like to respectfully suggest that council consider allocating the $100,000 estimated for the immediate repairs as recommended in the Old Town Hall Facility Assessment Report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roselach.
Mr. Mayor.
Turn on your mic, please.
Mr. Mayor, can we use the money from Elk Street?
Staff, Andy, you want to answer that?
There is no funds from the Elk Street. So to briefly explain, the town had a great outcome on the Elk Street tender. The outcome is that two restricted funds, restricted reserves, are in better position than they otherwise would be. As council's aware, the water and wastewater are user pay systems, so capital financing for those upgrades is derived through the user rates. So users pay in every time they turn on their tap to that system. We can't allocate that money to anywhere else. So the good results are that when we go forward with our SCADA and our lagoon upgrades, now we don't have to issue debt, which would impact the water rates for our residences. So that is an assigned reserve. There are no funds there. The other obligatory reserve that was used for this project was the OCIF funding, which is generally known as a gas tax fund. So that fund can only be prescribed towards road or transportation projects. So we're using that, and it's a great outcome on the Elk Street project. But it's also important to know that the Elk Street project was completely funded off of the levy. So there was no levy impact of this project, and it's a great outcome, but there are no reserves there. If anything, the town has drawn down our reserves. So right now, we're at about $2 to $2.5 million in reserves. We need to have a stable amount of reserves to address emergencies. I certainly think right now, after this year, we're flying by the skin of our teeth. I would like to have $4 million in reserves to deal with unanticipated emergencies, but we just simply are, we were planning for this in 2027 to make a financial plan, and because this building is not in danger of falling down. I know we heard from Mr. McKenzie, which I appreciate his delegation, but there is a lot of misinformation that's been going on about this facility. There is nothing in the report that that denotes any structural issues with this building. There is not anything urgent going on with this building. We had somebody go through the building, a Heritage Canada inspector go through the end of last term, and they said it was one of the best preserved municipal heritage facilities that they'd ever toured. We had somebody there last week, because we continue to look at it. They said these bricks they were surprised at how well pointed the bricks still were. So this facility is one that is being triaged with our other investments of more critical facilities, and we are looking to address it and make a financial plan. Right now, we just don't have the money. We don't even have the money to go out and issue debt for this project to proceed in this year. And although it's nice to do projects a little bit here, a little bit there, our economies of scale are better when we put up scaffolding and we do all the work in 1 year. So there's no damage. This building will be protected, and I think the work of staff to put a financial plan in, to balance this, and to make it so that we can do this without a tax levy impact or as minimal, or present options and compare this to other capital priorities for council is really important. So I hope council says that they want to discuss this during the 2026 capital budget process so we can actually develop a plan. Right now, we don't even have a plan on what the levy impact would be. We don't have funds for debt issuance for this project, and we would be going out to tender in August of 2025, which we would get horrible outcomes on. So I do think the town has committed to looking at this, and we are committing to a plan. It's just saying that this noise around that this building's falling down, that's not true. It is not factually true, and we've already addressed that at 2 meetings here. And council can direct me to write a report that says that, but all we're going to do is have the same discussion then.
Councillor Roselage.
Mr. Mayor, can we find the money somewhere for fundraising? Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Worship. What would the cost be if we advanced this to a 2025 project? What would it cost?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we don't have the analysis yet outside of, we're starting to do our 2026 budget process right now, and we're trying to execute the huge amount of capital projects that we have underway for 2020. So staff are quite busy. If you wanted to say debt issuance, you're probably looking at 6 to 7% on the levy, just to manage the debt issuance for this full project to be completed. We don't have the funds to even service the debt for this project right now. We don't have sufficient funds for $400,000, and that's based on the fact that the economies of scale occur when we put scaffolding up once and we complete all the work on the project in 1 year.
Just to follow up to that, if I may, what would the cost to borrow $2 million, approximately?
Heather?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we did a calculation just based on 3 million because of the potential if we had to expedite something like this. So I did an amortization over 5 years versus 10 years. Amortization over 10 years is about $400,000 in principal and interest from an IO loan, which is the lowest rate structure that we could possibly get. And we don't have those funds in the levy for this year to even pay for them.
Second follow-up, if I may, Your Worship.
Right.
I'll pass on.
Okay. Councillor Desrosiers, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a point of clarification, why are we talking about the cost to loan $2 million when the request being made is for $100,000? Like, why are we discussing the loan of $2 million? Could somebody clarify that for me?
I heard you say something about $100,000 in your statement, but that's not part of the resolution at this point right now.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, when we go to do a project like this, we do the full scope and engineering, and we go and assign it all. The economies of scale, if we piecemeal a project like this, we pay a super high premium because the cost for them to put up scaffolding, to work on that facade for 1 year, we'll pay that every year that we're there. And we're also putting people through, in this beautiful historic facility, we're putting people through 4 years of construction rather than 1 year of construction, where the contractor can be on site and do all the work at once. And that's where we get the good outcomes on tenders. And that's certainly what we do with all our buildings. We try to group projects together, get the scope defined, and get the best tender outcomes.
Okay, I don't hear very well, but I keep hearing noises from the background, so let's make sure that we,
Should I get myself thrown out? Are we allowed to speak?
I wouldn't want to do that, Cynthia, but
Well, you know,
can we
this
just,
information provided by the CAO is deeply disturbing. It's
you've had your chance.
25 of
You've-
105,000.
Can-
If you read the report,
Please come to order, Cynthia.
I'm leaving. This is so disgusting. 105,000 is the number in the report. I've asked you, Mayor, Honorable Mayor Cookett, whether you've read the report. Many of us now in the room have. And 105,000 is what was recommended in 2025. I shall leave you to listen to the lies coming from the CAO.
Anyone else besides Mr. Oslach at this point, or Councillor Oslach at this point? Because I do have some comments to make, especially now. Councillor Barber.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and to Andy. As you mentioned, we've had many experts walk through this building, and I'll have a follow-up. All the experts have said this building's not falling down and given us a timeline. So this is one of the moments where I speak up and say that I trust the reports of what staff have brought forward. I trust experts that have a lot more knowledge than myself. I respect the delegation that we had, but respectfully, he also mentioned that he hadn't read the report, so it's a little difficult to speak on a report you haven't read. While I'm not against heritage buildings, I don't think this heritage building is at risk. I'm just one vote. I think we have a good plan in place, in my opinion, and I think knowing what our budget is and knowing if there was money available, a lot of things that we could be doing in the town of Elmer with $100,000 seems to be a low amount for some people, but I think it's a significant amount and we don't currently have it. So again, I'm trusting the reports that we have and I am supporting going forward with the report that staff have put forward.
Okay, at this point, I want to make a few comments. First of all, don't know where to begin. I have read the report several times, so I want to go over what's in the report as briefly as possible. Secondly, I've heard the CAO mention that, we can bring this up in the 2026 budget discussions, which is only a few months away. So council may very well determine at that point that we're spending some money in 2026 rather than spending it right now. So we're looking at it. Thirdly, you've heard me say many times that we're not going to let this building fall down because, it's not in a state of falling down. I think it's a great jewel in the town. I certainly agree with Mr. McKenzie's, lauding of this building. It's a great building. We're not going to let anything happen to that building. Want to clarify again about the restricted funds. The amount of money that we saved off of Elk Street comes from a pile of funds that we cannot spend on anything other than certain things. And one of the things we can't spend it on is doing something with the old town hall. Right. Now the report. If you look at the report and I wish Cynthia were here, rather than yelling at me, she could kind of listen to what I have to say. But if you look at the report lists 5 priority ratings, A, B, C, D, and E. Now, the old town hall, despite, you can pick out certain pages, but despite the feelings of people that it's falling down, there is only one A, which is the top priority, which deals with the health and safety issues. There's only one A, which deals with some of the site improvements in getting to the buildings because the sidewalk is uneven. There is nothing in the B rating, which is the highest priority dealing with the foundation issues. When you talk about visual signs of structural concern is priority B in that report. There is nothing in that report that is priority B that deals with the structure of the building or the foundation of the building. So there's no huge concern or urgent concern. Now, I sympathize with people that say, let's fix this thing right away, but we're going to fix it. Just let us do it right, rather than yell at each other about it. The building is in fine shape, and we are going to fix it, if not in 27, in 26. All right. Anyway, I've said my piece so far. Councillor Oslach, last time.
Well, Mr. Mayor, to Andy, is there any grants out there from provincial or federal?
Well, certainly, I don't want to step on council's toes. If council wants to piecemeal something, although it's not staff's recommendation, you can consider that. But we would advise against it. Again, we've got the 2025 budget done. This was considered during the 2025 budget a couple times, and the council didn't endorse it to proceed. There are funds, but what we want to do is we want to take the time and develop a really good scoped project for this whole building so that we can shop it around and get some grant funding and really make it less of an impact on the ratepayers. So I think our challenge here is the town has tried to demonstrate certainly a lot of good faith on this. I think initially people were afraid that we were going to go declare it surplus or remove huge swaths of the heritage designation on it. We're not doing that. We're talking about fixing up a building. We're just trying to get the finances in place. And while we're doing that, we're making sure that nothing worse happens to it. We're patching up anything and we're addressing it on a day-to-day basis. So yes, there are grants available, but our best package, and we've gotten great grant outcomes. Our best packages are when we do the due diligence, when we sit down, we put the time into getting the paperwork together, and we put together a project, a $3 million project, rather than a $100,000 project. That's where you get the big impacts on grant funding, and that's just what we're suggesting. But certainly, I'm just here to make recommendations to council. It's your decision in the end, and we'll support whatever you want to do.
Councillor Rahi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple comments. I've built a couple things, I've fixed a couple things, and I understand that if your roof is crap, your foundation is no good, the building is then no good. And I understand that when water gets in, it progressively gets worse, faster and faster and faster and faster. I do know the building. I don't know where you stop with it. You don't put windows in without doing the fascia and soffit and everything. Like, it's kind of, I understand that it does 100% need some work, and it's too bad that we weren't prepared for it yesterday. But I don't know, looking at the building, where you stop and where you start. Like, if the foundation needs work, you could do that without scaffolding. So there is some stuff you might be able to pick away at. But looking at the building, I don't know how you do some of it with. Like Andy said, you put up the scaffolding, you might as well do the windows, you might as well fix all of the brick and the mortar and everything that you can. And I don't know, it's a very touchy subject, obviously. And I don't know where you start, where you stop. I guess that's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next was Deputy Mayor Barber and then Councilor Desrosiers.
Thank you. Just to follow up to Andy, would the direction of the library status also play into the role?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yeah, so I think there would be a significant opportunity if the library does move to another location for us to re-envision certainly the ground floor there and make renovations to the ground floor part of this project. So I think it would be worthwhile for council to consider that decision will likely, some decision on the library could be coming forward to you this summer, I'm imagining.
Councillor Rosie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the discussion we're having is good. It's getting a lot of clarification on certain things. I did want to touch base on one thing that Councillor Barber mentioned about trust specifically. For me, this really isn't about a matter of trust, trusting the report, trusting staff, trusting a member from the public. It's about listening to the public and listening to those concerns of our constituents. And if we are not able to, use the funds as staff has directed because it's allocated specifically, it's looking at other options, if there are other options. And one I'm potentially seeing is possibly mediation. Perhaps there's restrictions for this as well. But if the foundation, for example, is a core concern and it doesn't have a huge price tag, like $10,000 is still a lot of money, even, to me. Later on in our meeting, we're going to be discussing 7.6, which is a citizen engagement platform. I'm personally going to be opposing that capital project. It's $12,333 from the staff report. So could we do something instead of perhaps doing a citizen engagement platform? Could we use those funds to address the foundation and kind of find some common ground between council and staff and our constituents?
Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Your Worship. My concern is every time that something is done to this building, because it's a heritage building, it says right here, I'll just read from one section. Similar to other areas of the exterior wall system, repairs of the wood trim and panel will require services of a heritage consultant and specialist contractor. Every area that it recommends something be done, it states that. So are you going to hire a heritage consultant and specialist contractor to do $10,000 worth of work? But to me, that seems like we're wasting our money. I agree that we should put a package together, come up with a plan, not piecemeal this thing together and make it the jewel that we all claim that it is. Do it together. It states in here that there is no risk of structural failure. If you read the report, I think that we're picking at things, and that this building is a jewel and it needs to be preserved, but it needs to be done in the right way.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Did you have your hand up, Councillor Rosie?
I did, thank you. I just want clarification from staff if one, does it request in our, the structural foundation, is it a requirement of it to be a historical inspection? And also, would we be able to use other funds, like specifically with the citizen engagement platform? Like, is that a that was a question I did ask, but I didn't get clarification on. Thank you.
Staff, go ahead.
I don't know, Terry, do you have any idea about the foundation there? I know I can answer, I mean, certainly council can reassign funds if they so desire. That's up to you.
I believe anything that's done requires a consultant of the heritage background, and then it takes a certified contractor that's worked on heritage designation buildings in the past. That's what's in the report. The foundation repairs it mentions in there is mainly just kind of repointing and some minor repairs to the foundation, more brickwork items than actual foundation works. But it is, any work that needs to be done there does need kind of a high level from a heritage consultant and heritage contractors as well, so. hopefully that answers the question.
Okay,
And perhaps I'm not asking the right person, perhaps we should have asked the engineer who drafted this, but if that's what's being recommended in this report, but then he's also giving us a cost, like evaluation for everything, wouldn't he have built that into the cost that was estimated? If he's suggesting that, and he's suggesting that the foundation's 10,000, wouldn't that cost include that heritage component if he's specifically suggesting it?
yeah. I'm not sure what the consultants do on this. Do you have any idea? Yeah. No, I don't. I think we've discussed this fairly long. I do want to come back to the point that the report does not indicate that the foundation is in significant need of, or in significant structural concern. Because while I talk about this, there are 7 or 8 other facility reports, and indeed, this very building, the town hall, the new town hall, the post office building, whatever you want to call it, the facility report did say very clearly that the foundation was in need of serious concern in that building, not in the old town hall. And, I empathize with the discussion. It's been a very good discussion, but I think we've discussed it thoroughly, and I think he's ready to call the question on this. All right. So I don't know that we need to read do you want to read the resolution again? Let's read the resolution again.
Whereas the Old Town Hall is designated a historic building, a grand example of Italian architecture that is integral to the cultural life of our community that requires significant repairs to ensure its continued use and preservation. And whereas the Elk Street project has come in $2,309,442 under budget, resulting in available funds within the municipal capital budget. And whereas these savings provide an opportunity to allocate funds for the urgent repairs needed to the Old Town Hall as reported in the IRC report of 2023, now therefore be it resolved that the council directs staff to bring forward a plan to allocate savings from the Elk Street project to fund the repairs of the Old Town Hall as recommended by the facility assessments and reports, and be it finally resolved that council prioritize the timely repair and preservation of the Old Town Hall using these available funds, ensuring that this community asset is maintained for future generations.
Okay, thank you. The resolution has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Can we have a recorded vote, please?
Recorded vote, certainly.
Councillor Rahe. Sure.
Sure. If the funds aren't there, then what are we voting on? Voting on to accept.
The resolution says to bring forward a plan, the staff would bring forward a plan to reallocate the savings, and that staff would prioritize the repair. That's basically what you're voting on.
Yes.
Councillor Barber.
No. Oh, sorry.
You're deputy mayor. I'm councillor.
Sorry about that.
But no,
We're gonna have to fix that.
yeah. No.
Councillor Chapman.
No.
Councillor Desrosiers.
Yes.
Councillor Oslich.
No.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
No.
Mayor Cookit.
No.
And the motion is defeated for 2-4. 2-5.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the discussion. Item 6, consent agenda, resolution.
That the March 19th, 2025 consent agenda be received for information, and that the included recommendations within the staff reports be adopted, and that council approves the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on March 5th, 2025.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Desrosiers, Deputy Mayor Barber. Any comments, discussion, questions on these items? Councilor Chapman.
Item 6.1.2, the food cycler municipal solution. I just want to comment that I kind of like this idea, and I know that we've looked at the green bins before, and they weren't feasible. So I don't know if this is something we want to look more into, but it is of interest to me.
Okay, thank you. Rob, did you have a comment on this?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to the members of council. I thought this might be of some interest, so I did a little research. I'd be happy to put this in a report later on, but perhaps just to give you a little bit of the idea of the scope. So they're talking $10,000 that the town would have to do for 100 residents, and I believe the number that they use if these units are utilized to their fullest would be 300 kilograms. So for those 100 people for the whole year, that represents about 30 tons. So when I price it out per ton at $10,000, the cost for diversion is $335 a ton. By comparison, our landfill is $85 a ton. It's always cheaper to dig a hole and bury it. To put it in comparison then to some of our other composting initiatives, we sell composters at cost, so no cost to the town, and the residents get them at our wholesale price. And the province gives us credit for 1 ton of diversion per unit per year. So by far a bigger bang for our buck is the composters. Now, I know those composters, you can't put them in an apartment building. So these are kind of geared to very specific residents throughout the town. And I would also remind council that a lot of times those apartment buildings have their own private pickup. So where we would be saving in the tonnage, the $85 a ton, you can't even almost take that off. So it's a very select group that would be benefiting, and it's a very costly diversion program in staff's opinion. But I could put all that down in a report if you wished, but that would be probably the basis of the report, that it's fairly costly. There might be another model where we could, maybe purchase some wholesale and offer them like the composters at wholesale, but I don't know if it would warrant the cost as it is right now.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Did you want a report, Councillor Chapman?
I think that I would like it to just keep staff to keep themselves aware of this type of program, and something comes available that is feasible, that we take a look at it.
Okay, good. Councillor Roselach.
Mr. Mayor, consent agenda 613, trees for life. I'm a tree hugger. I would like to take take it up next week with Parks and Beautification Advisory Committee on the 27th of March at 8 o'clock.
Very well, that sounds like a great place to discuss that.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, and is carried, thank you. Item 7, action item 7.1, Manager of Parks and Recreation, is a tender award for Parks resolution.
That report, Recreation 03-25, entitled Tender Award Parks and Lawn Maintenance, Grass Cutting, be received as information, and that council accept the tender from HDC Landscaped and Design to complete the works in accordance with the Parks and Lawn Maintenance Grass Cutting 2025 to 2027 season tender documents.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Desrosiers and Councillor Chapman. And who's, Rob, you're doing that? Yep.
Certainly, Your Worship. There's really not much more than what's in the report. Staff are recommending that council accept the low bid from HDC Landscaping and Design and award the contract.
Okay. Council? Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Rob, just a clarification. The price that's quoted is a blanket cost to do all of the properties. if a particular spot has better soil and the grass grows significantly faster, how will you handle that?
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Barber, these are a total of the individual unit prices for each area, and not every area is serviced the same. There's some sports fields with people playing that we increase our cuts every week if there's sports teams out there, and then maybe in September we lessen it off, but it is a price per cut, and that's the total for each one of the areas. To give you a scope of the tender, I believe this is about an $8,000 or $9,000 award last year based on all that wet weather we had last year.
Okay. Was there somebody else's hand up? I can't remember. Oslach?
Yeah, well, Robert answered my question.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor is carried. Thank you. 7.2, CAO, the Recreation Capital Plan, a resolution.
That report CAO 13-25 respecting recreation capital investment be received it for information, and that council provide direction to staff respecting the allocation of $50,000 established in the 2025 Parks capital budget.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Oslach and Councilor Chapman. Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as council will recall, during the 2025 budget deliberations, there was $50,000 set aside for a couple additional playground equipment pieces. And council wasn't 100% bought into those, so you wanted us to do another report to come back. Staff want to get input on those projects, but want to also encourage a discussion with council about where this town might strategically go with park funding in the near term, as we're starting to get ready to lay out kind of a longer-term vision for you during the 2026 budget deliberations. At a high level, the town's really underfunded our park system historically. You can see that this term of council really has begun to change that trend by making large investments in the outdoor pool and the trail system and the ball diamonds. Elmer is, however, a small community, and we aren't like large centers such as St. Thomas, which can make substantial investments every year without negatively impacting taxation affordability in the community. So this is a kind of common theme that we'll be discussing with council now that the town's drawn down our reserves, and and that's kind of to celebrate the successes that we've had to date, but also trying to manage public expectations, because everybody wants everything. We kind of live in this Amazon environment where everybody wanted something delivered yesterday, but for government sometimes we have to work a plan longer to get to the end outcome that everybody wants. The town has had a large success in 2024 with the expansion of our trail system by over 1 kilometer. Trail expansion and connectivity are identified as a high priority in the 2023 Parks and Recreation Master Plan. In that document, these items are mentioned almost 100 times. So staff believe that the 2024 trail expansion is a big win for the community and demonstrates a large step forward in addressing the past underinvestment in parks. So now as we're looking at the issue of parks, we had some new information evolved since we last had our budget discussions with council. And that's just the amazing success that we've had at the end of 2024 in growth. Specifically Willow Run, we had a huge amount of DCs come in from development. And that really puts us in a position now where we've got approximately $700,000 in the parks DC fees. And these are prescribed fees that can address cost related to growth. So essentially, Cottonwood, Willow Run are the two main areas where we collected these DCs from. So we should be trying to invest out those monies back in those areas to provide some type of park amenity. So what we're suggesting is that council may want to consider a broad trail connectivity, considering Cottonwood, also up to the EECC from where the existing trail is, over Catfish Creek, and whether or not you would be amenable to putting that forward as a short-term priority that we would start pursuing now for the 2026 budget deliberations. This project could have some benefits simply because it's kind of tariff-proof. If we're putting gravel down, the gravel's close to market, and we're just talking about labor, really, labor and gravel. So we're not buying equipment that could fluctuate in price. And council could decide to put the 50,000 that you have for parks equipment in this year towards doing the initial engineering and work to get something grant ready. Trails Canada would also potentially look favorably on this project as it would connect a missing link in the Trans-Canada Trail system. So we could get grant funding. The grant process usually closes in January, though. So again, staff, this is your $50,000 that you put in there. Staff have reviewed it. We think that if you wanted to proceed with the accessible swing and the seniors active equipment, that they still make sense for low dollar investments in the park system. But we're also suggesting that some of this new information about DCs might change how you want to approach parks in the short term, and you might want to consider shifting to some place where we have an abundance of funds right now that we could throw and do something really special for the community. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions.
Council? Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the connection of the trail from Willow Run to the EECC, that requires a bridge, does it not?
Yes.
So it wouldn't be just gravel, it would be the material to do the bridge. So are you proposing that that bridge be done when?
That's a great question, Mr. Mayor. So right now, we don't own that land because we won't assume the parkland until we take over the property from Willow Run. We could approach HAHO and see if we could get an agreement to lease it for this work to be done. But certainly what we're considering is whether or not council wants us to go and start doing the design and start looking at that project for costing and trying to figure out the details behind it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. My thoughts at this time are to not lose sight of the playground equipment, but to allocate the funds toward perhaps the trail expansion at a later date when we can tie it together with grant funding and other sources of revenue.
Councillor Rahi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's hard because there's a lot of stuff in our parks that need some love and need some money and everything. There was just an expansion put on the trail, and our park, our play stuff in the parks are degrading, like they're not in good shape at all. Problem is that apparently 50 grand doesn't go very far with park equipment. So how you spend that responsibly and get the best bang for your buck out of it, I don't know, but I would like to see it spent on play equipment, just because we've already added to our trail. We've already added a kilometer to it. It'd be nice to keep that rolling, but I kind of would like to see some sort of play equipment or something in that type of matter, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Desrosiers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned at the Finance Committee level, personally, I do not support the installation of trail equipment, outdoor workout equipment. I agree with Member Rahi, as well as Member Barber, that perhaps we should either focus those funds on playground equipment, or we should be putting it in a reserve. One question I do have is a lot of municipalities, like West Elgin, we have Goderich, we have Middlesex, they're putting in these upgraded playgrounds. I'm assuming they're receiving grant funding. Is staff aware of what grant funding is available for that? And like, if we have 50,000, for example, and we need 160,000, is there any opportunities? Like, we have delegations coming up at AMO, like, is there anything that could be done at the provincial level or opportunities for grant funding that staff are aware of?
Rob?
Thank you, Worship. Just to provide some perspective, we're a little bit away from getting there. I think if we go for grant, where we've really been successful is we've had a really great plan in place. And the original proposal before the capital budget was really not any equipment. And then council directed staff to revisit that, go look if we could get something in the park. We heard that loud and clear. This is what Susie came back with. I had a good review on it, and I kind of wholeheartedly agree. If you want playground equipment, this is the least riskiest stuff to do. If we put something somewhere else, it's going to be in the way when we do the base. We don't have a master plan. We're going to put something in that we're likely is in the wrong spot or the wrong piece of equipment. So this, putting this in this location services that area by the pool where people are staging and caregivers. So I kind of agree with that. If you're really not satisfied with that, then I suggest we probably don't put the wrong stuff in the wrong spot. And I also want to just let council know that Susie and I really feel that we could probably have, sort of a playground plan before council, before the next budget. So you'll have a scope of what it costs, and then you can kind of flush that out and put a plan together and then go get that grant funding. But there are grants out there, but we're really not, we don't even know what we need right now to ask for, so we got to do a little bit of homework. I like this. Susie did a great job locating this. It's not likely to get ripped out if we put it in, but we got very clearly got the picture that council wanted to revisit this, so that's why this report came back.
Okay. Councilor Desrosiers
Thank
and
you,
then
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Chapman.
Yes, thank you. Just a follow-up. If that's the advice of staff, then I would stick to my opinion about holding off on this specifically and holding that money in a reserve and using it when there's a more established plan in place. I feel like this is just going to be a waste of funding. There's better ways that we could be spending that money. I also do agree with staff that we should definitely advance discussions on the trail extension, as I think it aligns with our long-term planning and growth. So I definitely agree with that. And I also agree with Deputy Mayor Barber that we should just be holding that money in reserve then. Thank you.
Councilor Chapman.
I have to agree that I think the $50,000 should stay in a playground reserve because all of our parks need new playground equipment. And if we're not going to be finishing the trails right away, and it's like Councillor Rahe said, we've already expanded them this year, I would like to see that $50,000 stay with the playground equipment.
Okay, I'd like to put my 2 cents worth in. First of all, I'd like to see the 50,000 stay in a reserve. I'd like to provide some comment on the trail system. I think the trail system is one of the jewels of our park system. And really, to have the trail from Cottonwood to the complex is something that I think is really important. The people that live on, I forgot the name of the street now, right next to Cottonwood, they, when I was campaigning, they said, please put a bridge across the creek so that we can go, from Cottonwood across. I think it would really be good to do that. And while we're thinking of doing the trail and put a bug in the ear of Terry or whoever's going to be looking at that, the crossing of Elm Street means that you have to go up and over the street. You might look at whether we can tunnel under the road or go under the bridge or something like that to make that trail a lot easier. In terms of getting grants, I was on the Trillium Foundation committee that gave out grants for this kind of thing. We gave out in this area of Ontario, we gave out something like 80 grants. And where the municipality had a very solid plan for trails and where they were going, the grant was given a lot easier than for people who still had to put together some kind of a plan. So I think that trails are really the important backbone of doing all of this. It's my 2 cents. Anyway, anyone else? Okay, seeing done, all those in favor of I guess, was there a staff direction in this? Or was there
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I take the direction that we won't proceed with the playground equipment, and we'll see how far we can get the trail without expending significant funds.
So the resolution was getting direction, so you've heard the direction here, Councillor Chapman?
I just want to make sure that that $50,000 goes into a reserve. So can that be part of the resolution?
Sure. I mean, where else would you put it? I think, it's going to go in a reserve, right? Okay. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you very much. 7.3, Director of Operations, Elmer Minor Baseball Association Resolution.
That report Recreation 04-25 entitled Elmer Minor Baseball Association Revised Improvement Plan be received as information, and that council accept the Elmer Minor Ball Association's revised improvement plan, and that the budget previously set aside to install a clay infield be used for all diamond improvements as outlined in the report.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Barber and Councillor Rahi. Who's giving the report?
Thank you, Worship. Staff are really pleased to present a report tonight recommending that council accept and approve the plans submitted by Elmer Maya Ball Association and release the money to those activities that are allocated in the report. You can kind of see that Elmer Minor Ball has taken the time and put in a lot of thought and research into the plan. And the plan leverages the financial support of the town, the financial support of the community, along with sweat equity from the Elmer Minor Ball volunteers. So I'm really pleased to have presented this report to council tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I believe we've got some representatives here that could also help me with the answers if need be.
Okay. Councillor Rahi.
Just a comment through you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to see the town and Minor Ball working together to come up with a plan that hopefully makes everybody happy, and it's nice to finally see something get done there, so thank you.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you. I'd just like to echo Councillor Rahi's comments.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? And carried. Thank you. 7.4, Director of Operations, the annual report on the lagoon system resolution.
That report, Operations 03-25, entitled Annual Report 2024 Lagoon Water Treatment and Collection System, be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman and Councillor Desrosiers. And Rob again.
Thank you, Worship. I've spoken a lot tonight, but I think there's just a couple of things I'd like to go through with this report that council should be aware of. If you can go to probably page 5 of 14 of the report, you'll see a lot of those graphs on there. And you'll notice that July and August, we did a direct discharge of the lagoons. So that was, if you recall, the wet weather that we had last year. Typically, we don't do a direct discharge. Everything runs through the sand filters. We did get permission from the ministry to do the direct discharge, provided that all the effluent met the same criteria as if it had gone through those sand filters. So we had no problem. We did a direct discharge, but it meant the discharge met all the criteria by which it went through sand filters. So, and that's a direct result of the wet weather. Staff and Terry and his crew have been out, and we think we've actually made some modifications to the system to prevent some of the inflows that are coming in during those wet weather events to stop the coming into our system. So we're hoping that we mitigate those in the future moving forward. The other thing I would like to bring to your attention would be page 7 of 14. You'll see a graph on there where we had an exceedance of the total ammonia nitrate rate in April and May. So that's when we need to get rid of the ammonia. That's also when the ice is coming off the lagoons and we have to really put the air to those lagoons. So there's two challenges with that. One is the limits. If we discharge through direct discharge, like through the pipe, our limit is 1.2 on ammonia. If you go to the graph for the ISF, our discharge for those same limits is 3. It's the same month, it's the same receiving body, but because we direct discharge and not go through the sand filters, and you can't go through the sand filters right now because those bugs haven't woken up. So there's one thing that's part of that optimization plan that we've gone to the ministry to say, can we just align these? Because we're getting these non-compliances when really they shouldn't really be there. So that's just wanted to point that out as well. The other thing with going through the direct discharge, making it a non-compliance is it's off of one sample. So you pull that sample for that direct discharge. If it happens to be high, it's a non-compliance and you can't not direct discharge. what happens with the sand filters is it's an average of your collection. So you can sample the sand filter for that same ammonia content over a couple of days, and it's an acceptable way to discharge through the sand filter. So I just want to point that out just to identify, because there's a lot of talk of optimization versus expansion. Really, a lot of the cleanup that we can do really makes those systems run a lot better. So that's one thing that we have applied to the ministry last month for a pre-consultation on all that work that council did with the optimization studies. We submitted 5 reports to the ministry, and part of those were the cleanup of those ECAs. So we're just waiting to hear back. They've got a team reviewing it now, and we hope to hear back from the ministry within hopefully the next month.
Thank you. Council. Okay, seeing no comments or questions, all those in favor of the report, and carried, thank you. I was just wondering when the bugs wake up. 7.5, Director of Legislative Services, use of inflatable structures resolution.
That report clerk 13-25 regarding the use of inflatables on municipal property be received for information, and that council directs that inflatable amusement devices, bouncy castles be prohibited on town property for third-party events, given the significant safety and liability risks outlined in the report. Or, if council elects to allow such devices, that a comprehensive risk management policy be developed requiring strict safety controls, operator certification, and insurance coverage for inflatables as described in this report, and that council directs staff to prepare a bylaw amendment to the special events policy bylaw to include a checklist for approval of inflatables, and that staff prepare the amendments and process for the next meeting of council to allow the Elmer Community Festival to secure a vendor. And this is an optional resolution for council that you can choose your preference.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Councilor Rahi. Our seconder, Councilor Desrosiers. Okay.
Okay. So thank you, council, for hearing this report tonight. I believe the written report is quite comprehensive, but I'll give you the brief overview of what is included in it. Staff do recognize that inflatable structures, bouncy castles can be popular and they can be a source of entertainment at special events. Despite this, our current policy and what we're recommending is that we prohibit inflatables on town property due to the significant safety and liability risks. And to summarize the reasons for that in this report, firstly, injuries on these devices are common, and there is the possibility of catastrophic injury if a device is lifted into the air if it is set up incorrectly. There is a history of this, and it's very unfortunate. Next, so we as a municipality, we're very likely to be named in lawsuits regarding this. We are under joint and severable liability laws within Ontario. We have the deepest pockets. If there is a catastrophic event or if there is significant injuries, we will likely to be named even if we put in place some mitigation policies that we describe later in this policy. The next point is the limitations of third-party insurance coverage. In the event of catastrophic or serious incidents on these devices, we could have a scenario where a third-party operator's insurance is either not upheld or not funded, or it is inadequate for the costs of the event, in which case the town would be liable. Finally, there is extended liability concerns because these devices are used by children. They can submit a notice of a claim, and we could receive that claim if, up to 2 years after they turn 18. So that very much extends the period in which we have to consider these claims. And then finally, there's a lack of municipal oversight and control of these structures because they are going to be likely operated by a third party on our lands. So council, we turned this report around in 1 week. We recently got a response from our insurer. These devices would not be covered under our current policy. The town would be liable for any incident which happened that it was not covered by a third party's insurance, and they do recommend at least $5 million of liability insurance, which would name the town, as well as specifically note this activity, as it is difficult to receive insurance for inflatable bouncy castles. So we did look at other municipalities. As council requested, we looked at numerous municipalities. Just some examples locally of municipalities with inflatable bands are St. Thomas, Huntsville, Burlington. Now, others do allow it. The City of London, for example, they have a quite comprehensive policy. Some of the local, smaller municipalities around here, when we inquired with them, they do request insurance. They do not have more policies in place. To me, that reflects a risk management issue at those municipalities, and that position is outlined in this report. So if we, just one moment. And what I will note later in my presentation here is that larger municipalities tend to have very comprehensive risk management checklists in place. They likely are conducting inspections on these devices, which is why they're probably allowing it. So we also looked at what it would take to responsibly allow these devices, what I would consider a comprehensive risk management policy on them, and that would be mandatory TSSA licensed operators, continuous on-site supervision by the third-party provider, $5 million of liability insurance naming the town and specifically naming the use of a inflatable device, strict safety checklists for the event as part of our special events approval policy, as well as enforcement measures, the ability to cancel the event if there's high winds, checks on high winds, pre-event checks by staff, post-event checks by staff. So our recommendation is continued prohibition on this, and to make it clear, for larger municipalities with full-time special event staff, with risk management teams, a regulated approach here to inflatables, it might be feasible, it might be doable. It's why they likely are allowing it. But for a small town like Elmer, we lack the resources, we lack the staff expertise, we lack kind of the operational capacity to enforce this comprehensive approach. And given the infrequent requests, I do think it is an unjustifiable use of staff time to kind of maintain the expertise for a high liability, low benefit activity, which will occur infrequently. But this is before council today for a decision. We do need a decision for the Elmer Community Festival, and I'll make it happen as fast as we can. And council, the resolution is structured that you can pick your preferred option. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Rahi.
Thank you to Owen. Good job on the report. That's by the time I was done reading it, I was sick of reading. So I didn't know that bouncy castles could be so complicated, and it's too bad that in 2025, at some point, no one can ever take responsibility for doing something wrong or hurting themselves. It always has to be the blame game, and it's too bad. And not that I ever want any kids to hurt or die or anything, but it doesn't. It's good for kids to bounce around and hurt themselves every once in a while. It's just too bad that it has to be this complicated to have a bouncy castle. And I agree with you. This it seems like way too much of a waste of time in order to try to do it right to cover our butts. And it's just kind of unfortunate because bouncy castles are a pretty simple thing, and boy, is that ever complicated. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you. Further to Councilor Rahi's comments, it's unfortunate that we live in such a logistic society right now, and having to feel that we have to wrap our kids in bubble wrap and take care of them. What's wrong with eating a little bit of sand? But as far as the town goes, excuse me, and the liability that seems to come along with it, and the suggestion from our insurance folks that it's an extremely high-risk project to get involved in. I personally just can't see the justification in going ahead with it at this particular time.
Councilor Suozzi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first question that I have is directed to staff regarding the report. Where was the information sourced regarding the City of St. Thomas?
City of St. Thomas Special Events staff.
Okay, I would like it noted that the City of St. Thomas, contrary to this report, does not prohibit inflatables, and this information was verified with Mayor Joe Preston, City Manager Lisa Higgs, and City Clerk Maria Cohnful. So that's inaccurate. Elmer is the only municipality in our region that has such strict policies. While I fully understand the importance of managing risk and ensuring protection, council must also recognize that life inherently comes with risks, and it's important for us to balance those risks versus the rewards. The study referenced in this report is from 1990 to 2009 and is dated. When I actually Googled the report to find it, I actually found an updated report by the same Canada government. And it's a sport and recreation-related concussion and other traumatic injuries report amongst youth and children. And it is dated from 2011 to 2017, and it was done by CHIRP, which is the Canadian Hospital Incident Reporting Practice or something like that. Preventative program, sorry. And what that does is it actually looks more currently at all recreation-related activities and outlines them as far as risks with traumatic brain injuries, as well as other traumatic injuries that are not traumatic brain injuries specifically. So it has two functions. And when you look at that data and you compare it, inflatable amusement is rated one of the lowest of potential injuries. And this is coming directly from the Stats Canada. So, for example, playing tag or climbing a tree is rated higher than inflatable amusement. So the question that I have, and perhaps staff can answer this, perhaps this is something directed towards insurance. If statistically inflatable activities are one of the lowest risk activities, with playing tag or climbing trees being ranked higher, then it raises an important question of, why are inflatables as a relatively low risk activity under such stringent policy when other high risk activities that are higher risk statistically don't have that similar scrutiny. So like the toboggan hill, playing hockey, the skateboard park, biking down the trail, playing tag, climbing a tree. Like if we're going to put these strict policies in place, why don't we have that same approach to all these other activities? Can somebody please explain that?
Sure. So that is addressed in the report. Basically, when we bring in a third-party operator, we are accepting risk. And there is risk involved with these devices. There are known risks, and there are risks which we can monitor we accept a lot of risk related to hockey or related to our skate parks. These are known risks to the town, they're monitored risks, and they're part of the risk management approach that we have. So if we want to accept these devices, we need to accept policies that means we're taking a responsible approach to them. And I'd certainly invite the CAO or Mr. Johnson to comment as well, just based on your expertise.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, the risks, I mean, it's one thing for somebody to put a bouncy castle on a church property or on private property. When you put it on the municipal property and we become liable for it, it becomes an issue that we have to ensure that we're doing our due diligence for. And that's what staff have presented is an approach to manage risk. The problem is that we're so small that we don't really have a lot of resources to do that. So people playing in the park or somebody signing up for hockey would have signed a waiver. I know when I take my kids to Flying Squirrel, they got to go sign a waiver before they jump on the trampoline. Bouncy castles aren't necessarily doing that. They're not getting kids to sign up, and as a result, we have this broad risk. And as well, when you're dealing with children, the risk that you inherit isn't an immediate risk. A kid who is 5 can get injured and come back and initiate a lawsuit when they turn 18. They can say, my parent was not correct in not filing this lawsuit. So it's the type of thing that happens on our property where the provider could be out of business, the event could no longer be going on by the time, and we might be the only person they can actually lay the litigation against. So that's part of the potential thing, and I agree. I certainly wish we lived in a world where we never had to worry about litigation or risk or you know, I do all sorts of high-risk things with my girls, but that's my own decision with them, and I go do that with them. I don't expect other people to assume the risk on behalf. So that's, I think, the challenge. I don't know if, Rob, you have anything, or if I covered it. I mean, I think it's standard. I know every municipality I've been to, I've listened to hour-long presentations from insurers about different insurers, about why you should not allow bouncy castles. So I think this is something that's very common, and I don't think, you know, the places that are doing it now will be doing it in 5 years.
Did you have a comment, Rob, or not?
Just the fact that the insurance company has chosen not to cover them, I can't answer as to why this activity and others, they've obviously got more experience than I do.
I think, Councillor Chapman, did you have your hand up before? No?
Oh, yes, yes.
And then-
My question through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Rosier, your report that you were saying there, you were referring to concussions, was that correct?
To answer Councillor Chapman, it references actually both. It references brain, like TBIs, which is traumatic brain injuries, and all other injuries associated with these recreational activities. So the graph actually looks at both. So I have it broken down between traumatic brain injuries and other injuries as well.
Just others in general?
Others in general, yeah. That's how they laid it out.
Okay.
Can I ask my question?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I guess the question that I have is, you know, the CAO has discussed that there's these risks and that, you know, a liability with children specifically is that they can come back, you know, 10 years down the road and sue or do whatever they need to do, right? My question would be, do these same risks not apply? Like, I know in hockey you sign a waiver, but I don't sign a waiver to bike down the trail. I don't sign a waiver to skateboard at the park. I don't sign a waiver to go to the toboggan hill and take that toboggan hill down on my sled and jump it. Like, there's lots of risks out there. Same with a tree. I climb a tree and I follow that tree. You know, how do those same risks not apply to those situations? And the other thing that we discussed mediation and ensuring that these other activities are mitigated. Well, how are we doing that for climbing a tree? How are we doing that for skate parks? Like I said, there is no waivers. There is no, there's nothing to sign. So I think the other thing that I have as well, point of order, I am speaking, is that if we're looking at our neighboring municipalities and we have questions like this, like how are they covering it or what policies do they have in place, I think we should be looking at those. Like, I would have loved to see the policies that Malahide has or Southold has or the city of St. Thomas, and seeing if we're able to mirror those policies to be more amicable with our residents and more fair. So I think that's the concerns and the questions that I have that hopefully staff can answer. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Owen, did you want to answer that?
I'll take a first shot. So
Go ahead.
with a lot of issues, there is a requirement to show negligence. So certainly with anything on the roadways, trail systems, as long as we meet our established maintenance standards, then we are defendable, even if something happens. So if we salt a sidewalk and it's properly salted, and then it snows and somebody slips on it, and we've been there within the right amount of time, we're protected from litigation. Similar things with an arena. If you go out on the ice and you get injured, if we've maintained the ice and there's no negligence there on the ice, the onus is on the person who's filing the claim to show negligence. The risk associated with a bouncy castle is so high that we know injuries are going to likely occur, and because the insurer says that there's this risk. So because of that nature of the risk, it's much harder for everybody to say that negligence didn't occur related to an injury. And in terms of the other municipalities, I certainly don't want to call out any particular municipality, but I would say lack of due diligence doesn't form a good policy decision. Simply not considering an item or considering your risk or liabilities and just doing things as you have historically happens a lot in municipalities. It doesn't mean it's something that we should mirror or parrot.
Certainly. Councillor Desrosiers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a follow-up conclusion, not really a question, but I think, like I said before, everything in life inherently has risk. And I think it's important to be aware of those risks, and I think it's important to protect yourself as best as possible. But to outright ban the activity, like, I feel like I'm living in Footloose. Like, can't do it because it's not safe. And I think that it should be allowed, but under measures, right? So I think those measures are important, and I think staff can work with that. Like, is signing a waiver a possibility for, like, people who want to use the activity? Is that even a possibility or no?
Anyone answer that? Because go ahead.
So I believe waivers do not hold ground when it is children involved.
Right.
We,
It didn't matter.
if council wanted to move forward here, the path is clear. I'll have it ready at the next meeting. It's mandatory TSA, SAE operators, it's continuous on-site supervision, it is $5 million of liability insurance, and it is a strict safety checklist for the event. This is what's implemented at the larger municipalities.
Sorry, I just have a follow-up question. I'm sorry, but you said for children, waivers don't matter, so why does it matter for hockey then?
I'm not sure what the waiver, I can answer that for a moment. In my former job, I was told, now this is a few years ago, I was told that parents cannot waive the liability of their children. Doesn't matter, you can sign me whatever you want, it doesn't count.
So the hockey waiver point then is null and void?
I don't know whether that's changed or not. Anybody, I don't know how much that matters here. Let me make a comment. It's been a few years since I've done bouncy castles myself. So I'm wondering, is there one type of bouncy castle, or is there a whole bunch of different ones, and some of them are more liable than others, and maybe we can reach something in that? Any answer that? Jason, you're going to answer that or talk about the same thing? Otherwise,
I'm not, I don't answer questions.
Yeah, but I threw something out there as a question. You want to answer that?
Yeah, through the mayor, answering your question, I believe there is one municipality, I'm recalling the city of Vaughan, that prevents bouncy castles with a roof, but they allow them with like a flat surface.
There's the same principle. You get in there and you bounce around. That's basically. I thought the ones that were really terrible were the ones that got caught by the wind, and I remember hearing about that. That was the major cause of fatality, was the ones that were caught by the wind. But anyway, we're getting into the weeds a whole lot here. So the issue is really, do we want to take the risk or don't we? I guess that's the issue. Councillor Rahi.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Owen, if we did what you just said, as far as agreed with it, but they had to comply to all of those things, are we covered to the best of our ability at that point?
You're still accepting risk. I would suggest that to council. And you're also hoping that we can maintain the expertise to enforce this responsibly and be able to prove our diligence in doing that. And that would be the risk you're accepting.
Well, my next question is just because we allow it, if we make it super hard, then no one's ever going to try to do it anyways. Like, how is it even possible to get $5 million insurance on it, or is it just kind of pricing it out of the park, where you're not gonna spend $2,000 on insurance for one bouncy castle at a festival? So I mean, we could approve it and let that go through, but it's really not realistic to even happen in the end, anyways. Right?
Through the mayor to Councillor Rahe, I did see some of that commentary at other municipalities that I looked at, but I can't comment on it specifically.
Councillor Barber.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick question to Andy. You said that our insurance currently won't cover it. So if someone takes out $5 million coverage, insurance on it, and we get a claim that's for a ridiculous amount, that's over the 5 million, and they come after the town, where are we paying that from? Like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, through you, since our insurance wouldn't cover it, I mean, we'd be additionally named, but certainly it would be a direct impact on the town, I think, because our insurance policy doesn't cover it for us. So we wouldn't have our own insurance policy, I believe, to fall back on. We would be funding that directly off of the levy.
Oh, so that would impact taxpayers significantly.
Yes, and I know we'd like to think these things can never happen. I know I was in the city of Hamilton one time when a crossing guard left his post 5 minutes early, and somebody got injured, and this poor young fellow had a disability for life as a result of the injury, and the end amount was well over $10 million. So that had to be borne largely by the municipality.
Okay, I think we've exhausted the comments on this. The resolution says no or yes. So the way to do, I guess, the resolution should be clarified in terms of a vote, because if we vote, we're voting on either or. We're not voting on either or. So I think the first one that I will ask for is that the report 1325, using the use of inflatables, the council direct that inflatable amusement devices be prohibited. We can do that. We'll take that. We'll vote on that one first. Prohibition of inflatables. You had a comment, Councillor Rizzo.
Yes, can I just have a recorded vote, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we're voting on no, we're not doing it. All right. Recorded vote coming up.
Councillor Rahe.
Yes.
Councillor Barber.
Yes.
Councillor Chapman.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yes means that we're not doing it. Yes.
Councillor Desrosiers.
No.
Councillor Oslich. Yes. Deputy Mayor Barber.
Yes.
And Mayor Cookett.
Yes.
The motion is carried 6-1.
Okay. So now we move on to 7.6, Director of Legislative Services, Citizen Engagement Platform. We have a resolution.
That report clerk 14-25 regarding a citizen engagement platform be received for information, and that council approve the single source purchase of a citizen engagement platform from Granicus, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into agreement with Granicus.
Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Barber, Councillor Oslich. Report.
Yes, through the mayor, the deputy clerk will be providing this report.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Sorry, excuse me. Of course, the my presentation goes down at my moment to shine, but no, it's okay. So I will be reviewing the report, and then there will be additional comments by the clerk. This report seeks the approval of the single source purchase of a citizen engagement platform from the company called Granicus. The purpose of this platform is to centralize project information, enable residents to subscribe for updates, facilitate structured feedback, and reduce staff workload by automating communication. So I would like to start with just a quick demonstration of a practical example from London, who also has similar a platform. It's called getinvolvedlondon.ca. Of course, London is a larger municipality, but we can see some similarities between theirs and Elmer. So for example, if I scroll down a bit, they have a ward review project here, which would be similar to Elmer's boundary expansion project. And they also have road reconstruction projects, which would be very similar to what we would do with Elk Street. And the specific one that I'd like to talk about this evening is in their Parks and Recreation. It's the Community Center redevelopment, which would be comparable to our Old Town Hall and Library project. So in the Silverwoods Park and Arena Community Center redevelopment, we can see several important features. So we do have an overview of the project. On the right, we have the names of staff that are in charge of leading the project. Further down, we have some design concepts, and also on the right, we have a timeline of the project, which could be something very similar to the report that was presented regarding the dog park in Elmer. We have the subscription feature here on the right as well, where members can stay informed for project updates. We have some photos. We have announcements for opportunities for public meetings, and all the documents related to the public meeting are also found on the right here, so they can be easily accessible by people who may not have had a chance to attend. And finally, down at the bottom, we have the feedback form built in, so we have some engagement opportunities there. And I quickly wanted to show you an example from Kitchener, the Rockway Center redevelopment, very similar. The difference is that this municipality has made use of other features such as the ideas board. So it's a great way to open it up to asking a question such as what features would you like this community center to have? And we have actual comments here from people, kind of like social media, but in a moderated, I guess, more moderated version. So in comparison, I would like to show you what Elmer is currently using. So for example, we'll use our boundary expansion project, which is under the planning development, and here we go. And our page does have a summary of the project and our phase breakdown. We've got staff contact information at the bottom. And we also have related documents and links within these collapsible menus. So for recommended parcels, we have a link to our YouTube page and the notice there. Each one has different documents depending on the phase of the project. So while we believe that the information on our page is comprehensive, staff are replicating the features of an engagement platform such as Get Involved London, and it requires us to use multiple platforms. So one, we're using the website to display the information. Two, we're using Laserfiche down at the bottom so that we can email the manager of planning and development. We're also using manual email sent by staff to provide updates. So for something like the Old Town Hall Advisory Committee, we've created a form to collect that information. And for something like the dog park, we additionally would use SurveyMonkey for collecting public feedback. So we've got a multi-platform approach that's going on, a bit inefficient and time-consuming for staff, and it creates a fragmented user experience for residents. So just jumping back to the report, we're going to go down to our challenges that we're facing with our current tools. So despite maximizing our communication tools, we do have several challenges. So for example, the website doesn't have a built-in subscription option, and there's no seamless public engagement, so we lack features like comment sections, surveys, and interactive feedback opportunities. Our website does have some design limitations. It's designed for static information and not interactive engagement. And finally, our social media limitations. We do maximize the use of our social media as much as possible, but we do recognize that posts can be easily buried in our news feeds and kind of subject to the algorithm of what's shown. Engagement can also happen in private groups, so posts can be shared to private accounts and private groups, so we're really losing that communication thread and reduces our ability to analyze community sentiment. So when we speak about Granicus, the provider of a citizen engagement platform, we look to the tools that will help us address these issues, such as automated subscriptions. Centralized feedback and discussion, we are collecting everything in one place and we're not directing people away from the platform. Easy to navigate project pages and enhanced public accessibility. So residents can participate at their convenience through digital platforms, and that reduces the barriers to engagement. It's not on their feed and gone. It's always going to be up there as long as the project is active. We do have a couple practical applications for Elmer that we could immediately put up on the platform. So just a quick summary: the Elk Street reconstruction, 2026 budget deliberations, dog park consultation, and beyond 2025, we have annual projects that would benefit from being on this platform. So our long-term value and efficiency gains, if we are to adopt such a platform, we are reducing duplication of work for staff. So we're increasing our efficiency by automating communication, and we're offering residents a modern, intuitive, and user-friendly platform that is helping our goal of encouraging ongoing engagement. Speaking to the cost savings, we would be eliminating our SurveyMonkey subscription if we were to adopt this website, which would save $1,200 annually. However, we do need to retain our current website as it has a separate function. So that is the current year we're paying about $800, and we may be able to extend the life of our website at this low cost if we can supplement it with the citizen engagement platform. And just as a comparison, some of our neighboring municipalities are paying in the range of $6,000 to $8,000 annually for their website. We do have some performance goals, so we would like to see 10,000 total visits, 2,000 total engagements, 2,000 document downloads, and more than 300 registered subscription users. So that just helps us to set the goals and reevaluate them to make sure we're getting effectiveness from the platform. The financial impact and cost breakdown. So $15,000 was allocated in 2025 for this project from the discretionary reserve. Here we are. And the cost for implementation and annual licensing is just over $12,000, so $12,333.66 with HST included. And this allows us to have unlimited projects in a year with no limit to users and staff. Again, we would need to retain the website. SurveyMonkey would be canceled. We also talked about CivicWeb. That would be retained as it serves a vital function as meeting management software. And just before I finish here, our strategic alignment, we're hoping that this, well, we know it would enhance our service delivery through technological and communication improvements. And it would aim to strengthen public trust by providing transparent, accessible, and real-time information. And we are meeting our goals under the communications plan that seeks to ensure that residents feel informed and engaged in municipal decisions. We did have a report earlier in the consent agenda of this meeting regarding information services update, and that really shows how dedicated staff are to promoting civic engagement by continually working on strategy, delivery, and followership. With that, I will toss it over to the clerk, who has a few comments before we open it up to questions.
And I just wanted to thank Michelle for her work on this. I think this could be a really valuable platform for us. I know Michelle just mentioned it, but that report that we had earlier on the consent agenda, we did just achieve a milestone with our Facebook page. We have 2,000 followers now, which I think is great for a town of our size and the age of our page, which is only a couple years old. Some really quick comments. We did hear the word misinformation earlier this meeting a couple times. I had that in my notes tonight as one of the advantages of a platform like this. It does really help centralize where residents can go for information on key projects around the town. In terms of our existing assets, we do have social media, but I'd like to just remind council that social media and Facebook, it's a private company, and we're subject to the algorithms there in terms of how our content gets presented to residents. And that does limit our reach, and those policies could change at any time. Facebook banned news outlets in Canada from presenting on their platform. I think that it's important that we have engagement on a platform that we own and we control. I do have notes here on the cost. I'm happy to go into them more for council. And in terms of alternatives, if council does not accept this proposal, we will continue on using our current tools, and we will make the best of them. And we would just remind that council engagement will essentially remain fragmented, and there'll be continued manual effort and duplication of work. We really believe that we could put in the same amount of effort that we currently put into our website and see a far better product for our residents to engage with council and help council make better decisions and help staff understand what our residents are looking for. And with that, we can take any questions.
Thank you. Very good report. Council. Councilor Rai.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Owen, I guess. If it was something that you guys ended up not liking, you can, once you're done the year script, you can go back to either something else or SurveyMonkey.
Yes, this is a one-year annual renewal, so we can back out anytime we like if it doesn't perform the way we want it to.
Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you. Right out of the box, I'm going to acknowledge that this is an area of not my expertise. Over the last couple of years especially, staff have done an excellent job of enhancing the communications between us and the residents and between ourselves. Having said that, over that period of time, I've begun to really respect the efforts that they're making toward that goal, and I trust their decision that they've thoroughly vetted this particular project. I know they're cognizant of the facts of the cost and to have taken that into consideration. At this particular time, I support the endeavor.
Councilor Chapman.
Through you, Your Worship. This is more because I'm not a computer brain. How would the citizens be made aware of this program? And when you say subscribe how? And what benefits besides losing SurveyMonkey, how much time, less time, do you think staff would need to spend to achieve their goal?
Sure, I can follow through. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Chapman. So how would they subscribe was one of the questions. It would be, let me just scroll to it here. So it would be a form on the platform where people would enter their information. So they would have to enter in like their name, their email address, where they're going to get these updates so that they get them to their email. If I were to post an update about the Old Town Hall Advisory Committee and then they are subscribed, they would get the email with that update. So that would be how they would go about doing the subscription piece.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So how do I know about the platform?
Absolutely. So we would still use it in tandem with social media to promote it. So for example, something like the dog park consultation that's coming up, I've got a post that will have paid advertising on it, and it will link people to SurveyMonkey to complete the survey there. It's similar to the budget where we have targeted advertising for our different groups on Facebook and on Instagram, and it directs them to complete the survey on SurveyMonkey. So we kind of use the tools together.
Okay.
And then the final question was regarding time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to comment on the time, this is a discussion that we've had as staff. Updating the website for things, especially right now, we're doing a lot of notices for Elk Street. It would be about the same amount of time that we're using for updating our current website that we would be using to update and get a platform like this going. However, the outcome and the benefits, we're getting it a lot further than we are with our current website where we're just putting the information out there. With a platform, we're going to see results with the feedback built in, and with those options kind of all in one place instead of scattered around on the different platforms like they currently are right now. We drive people to the website certainly through social media because we need to get the word out there. But the good thing about the platform is that it will remain. So you see a post and you know there's a dog park consultation coming up. The website will always be there, but the post may disappear from your newsfeed. So it's just it's nice to have that always available for people to access. So.
Okay. Councillor Rosier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Michelle, for that report. I think it's a really interesting platform for sure. Speaking from experience, like not to age myself here, but as a millennial, like I grew up with these programs. So I do see the value of engagement with our constituents and with the community. However, in saying that, one of the points was mentioned that there's a current multi-platform approach. And just to confirm, even with this addition, there's still going to be a current multi-platform approach because we're just not doing SurveyMonkey, but we're doing this, Facebook, as well as the Civic Web, correct? So we're not really making much of a shift as far as a multi-platform approach?
You're correct. We would still have the website and we would still have Civic Web because that is quite a different piece, and our social media. I guess the benefit to having it all in one place on the citizen engagement platform is what we're going after. So we're not directing people away to a Laserfish forum or to SurveyMonkey. We're tightening up those communication threads, but you are correct.
Just to follow up. Okay, so in saying that, like I said, I can see the value of the community engagement, like the idea behind it. But again, looking at neighboring municipalities, Elgin County was mentioned in here, and I specifically spoke to the clerk of Elgin County to gather those statistics about the engagement. And even the low, the engagement that is forecasted, like 300 subscriptions, we're a town of 8,000. So it's not that I don't see the value, I don't see the value and the expense associated. Like, I feel like we're prioritizing this and it's going to potentially benefit a small demographic of this community. I just feel like this money could be better allocated for other things. So I'm not to trash the idea from staff. Like I said, I get where their heart is and I get where they're coming from and what they're trying to prioritize. I just, not to sound pessimistic, but I just don't see the engagement there, and then therefore I don't see the financial value. So I do not support this. I'm sorry.
Councillor Chapman.
I did see that there was a possibility of partnering with the county or other municipalities, and I would kind of like to put a hold on it and see if that could happen, because it would create a reduction in cost.
So I also spoke with the clerk of Elgin County specifically about that. So Granicus brought that model up to us. So our cost here is roughly $8,000 a year. They have a regional model. It would double the cost that the county currently has, which is roughly $18,000 a year to $35,000. If you divide that out over the municipalities within Elgin County and the county, our per cost would be much lower, but we would have to get all the other municipalities on board to actually use this software to find that value there. And it would only lower Elmer's costs from $9,000 a year to $5,000, basically. It's something that we can look into in the future, which is why I included it here. We could jointly procure for this type of thing in the future with Elgin County. I think we should test it, and that's what the report says. We should see if we want this, and if we do, we can probably convince the rest of the municipalities that there's value in it, so.
Just to add briefly to what Owen was saying, we're very fortunate in Elmer to have Owen and Michelle who can manage the website and manage our technology in-house. A lot of the other municipalities are paying amounts equal to this or far greater just for an external service provider to manage their websites. And that doesn't lead to the fast amount of updates that we're able to do. Certainly, we're much more fluid because we have them. But I think if we went to, I can certainly talk to the other CAOs, but if I talk to the other CAOs and they don't have the in-house staff to operationalize this, they really need somebody to be the leader in Elgin County and step out in front of it. And I think we do have the team here who can lead and could show everybody that a system like this could be really effective.
Councillor Barber.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I personally like the idea. I think we need to look at different ways to engage the 8,000 residents that we have that could be providing feedback. I know we use multiple tools, including social media. I'm not a huge fan of social media, just based on kind of where it's a useful tool for reaching out to people, but getting feedback for what we're doing within the town, I don't think it's very useful. It's nice coming in and seeing a lot of people that are here, but they're usually here for a specific topic and then they leave. So again, it'd be really nice to hear from new faces and new voices within the town that I'm sure have a lot of feedback on what we could do with the funding that they pay in through their taxes. So I like the idea. I love what Michelle was showing with different examples and the way it's laid out. And I think it flows a lot better than what we currently have, and making something easier for residents to go and look and say, I want to know about this. Okay, I can just click it here without doing a drop down. I really like the idea, so I support it.
Councillor Roselach.
Mr. Mayor, my opinion, we should try it for 1 year and then evaluate it.
Okay. And I think we should do the same. I think is a pilot kind of approach, and we'll see whether it actually works for 1 year. It's a lot of money, so let's take a look at it after a year. Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Zosier.
I'd like a recorded vote.
Okay.
Councillor Rahe.
Yes.
Councillor Barber.
Yes.
Councillor Chapman.
Yes.
Councillor Desrosiers.
No.
Councillor Roselach.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Yes.
Mayor Cookett.
Yes.
Carried 6-1.
Okay, thank you very much. We're on 7 or 8. New business and matters of urgency. Then, sorry, we have a report on DC reserve statement. Sorry.
That report Finance 05-25 entitled DC Reserve Statements 2024 be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Zosier and Councillor Rahe. Heather, are you doing that? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you and to members of council. So this is a standard yearly report that's before council to summarize the DC reserves. Andy's already touched on it in the parks discussion, but the overall balance as of January 1st, 2024 was 1.831 million. We had an addition of 2.192 million in residential DCs and 318,000 of non-residential DCs. So we can credit the previous council for putting, the prior DC study together to allow us to have this money in order to plan for those projects. As Andy said, the connection to Cottonwood, we called the connection to the new development. I think we had all those numbers in there from 2021. So this is now going to be beneficial for this community. So with the addition of interest and contributions to reserves, the amounts that close out are 4.259 million. So what we can use this for, or what we did use this for in 2024 was the Willow Run expansion to Optimus Park. We also used a portion of this for the Lagoons project. So as council's aware, the Lagoons project, the growth component is funded by DCs. The other part is funded by reserves, again, not off the levy. So that's great for this community. And basically, the Elk Street component is about 1.3 million. Again, that was in the DC study. So that's the summary of the report, and it can be used for future DC-related projects.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's carried, thank you. Now, new business and matters of urgency. Not seeing any readings of bylaws, resolutions.
That council gives 3 readings to and approves bylaw 19-25, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Elmer and Lafeche Roofing, 1992 Limited, for the East Elgin Community Complex roof replacement. Bylaw 20-25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held at the regular council meeting on March 5th, 2025. Bylaw 21-25, being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw 55-97 with bylaw 21-25 being a bylaw for prescribing standards for the maintenance and occupancy of properties within the town of Elmer. Bylaw 22-25 being a bylaw to prescribe standards and regulations for the maintenance of land in a clean and clear condition within the town of Elmer, and to repeal bylaw 60-19. And bylaw 23-25 being a bylaw to establish a bylaw appeals committee in the town of Elmer.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Chapman and Deputy Mayor Barber. Any, Councillor Desrosiers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is in regard to item 9.3.5. I just want some clarification. Was that bylaw brought to council in a report, or did we have a discussion that I'm completely forgetting? So,
Through the mayor to Councillor Desrosiers, yes, that was part of our property standards and clean yard review, which we delivered to council last fall.
Okay.
And we were waiting on the outcome of the naturalized lawn discussion at council, and this is just the bylaw coming through finally.
thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, and carried. Inquiries by members. Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Terry, a couple of items. Spalling of concrete sidewalks is normal. Does it depend, does the amount of spalling depend on the mix of the concrete, or is there anything that we can do to decrease the amount of spalling on new concrete, new sidewalks?
Through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Barber, there's several different factors that can lead to spalling. I can't really get into each individual cause of it, but it could be anything from a bad load of concrete. You'll see, a whole stretch of curb or sidewalk specific panels where it'll spall worse than others. The goal is always to have no spalling after wintering. I'm assuming this is speaking to kind of spring conditions after the concrete is wintered. It could do with the finishing of the concrete. They usually spray water on the concrete to do the finish, the broom finish on it, or smooth trowel finish. So sometimes they'll put too much water on it, and that'll lead to flaking and spalling once the concrete winters. There's a host of different causes of spalling. I know excessive salt also leads to kind of accelerated spalling. It could do with the aggregate in the mix, where you'll see specific stones that pop out of sidewalk panels after the winter. But the goal is always to have no spalling in the concrete, but unfortunately it is kind of an inevitable fact that some of it will spall and pop over time. So I'm not sure if that answers the question thoroughly.
Okay, just to kind of follow that up a bit, for new sidewalks going on, what kind of a warranty do we have for the finish of them? And is it something that the people or members of council could have a look at for a specific period of time?
Yes, that's a good question. Through the mayor, there's always a one-year warranty on any capital project, or take, for instance, a sidewalk program. There's a 1-year warranty from substantial completion, so that has to do with when the payment, the last payment is for the contract, or almost the last payment. So that's when you will certify the project substantially complete. That'll kick off a 1-year warranty on the project, and staff would go through before that 1-year warranty and identify any of these issues, if there's any spalling, cracking, and that's when these issues would be replaced. So every project has a 1-year warranty for our capital projects. And with any kind of concrete, asphalt, things like that, we get extensive geotechnical testing done. So they will also be doing, it's called concrete cylinder testing underneath the sidewalks and curb, where they'll test the compressive strength of it, different aspects with the concrete, to make sure that it wasn't a bad mix and that it's meeting the provincial standards and town standards for the concrete.
Okay, thank you. My second question to Heather. With the turmoil in the trade conditions at the present time, does the town of Aylmer have any buy local, buy Canadian type practices or policies within its vocabulary?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. Our current procurement policy is pretty much wide open to anybody to bid, but for that matter, I can only think of a handful of U.S. companies that we even use, if you're speaking specifically to U.S. companies, and that's for a lot of proprietary equipment, or there's 2 vendors specifically for proprietary equipment that I know from the U.S. that we use for police services, and we can't tender those here. As far as, targeting like the provincial government has been doing, we do not have that in our current procurement process, but we definitely, support the Canadian Tire, the Home Hardware, the No Frills, the Independent Grocer, Campbell's Bookstore. We're constantly buying our goods for the town through any small town business here, first and foremost for the regular items. But as far as the bids and tenders, I think it's opened up to everybody.
Anyone else? Okay. Statements and committee reports. Councillor Rosier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just notice to the public and to council that Torque Gym will be celebrating their official grand opening on April 5th, and they have requested that I invite council to the event, as well as the public. They're welcome to attend, and more information can be found on their Facebook page. Thank you.
What date was that again?
April 5th.
April 5th?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Barber?
Thank you. Elgin Primary Water Board and the Aylmer Secondary Water Board have met recently. Part of the agendas were the adoption of the annual or the quarterly compliance reports. There were no complaints issued on the Elgin Primary Board. There were 2 minor complaints that were received and dealt with at the Aylmer Secondary. There were no compliance issues as far as the quality of water goes on either one of the 2 boards. Members of the public and council may be aware that last weekend there was an advisory for an unusual odor that may be experienced in Aylmer, but more specifically it related to St. Thomas and Central Elgin. By the time it got here, it had pretty much dissipated. It was basically because of the change of season. Lake Erie turns in the spring and turns in the fall. The bottom comes to the top and the top goes to the bottom. And in Lake Erie, particularly turbidity, which is the churning of the water, can be very extensive during periods of storm, which have recently occurred. And it just creates a cloudiness. The sediment within the lake gets all churned up, and it takes little extra effort to treat that water. But there was never any concern about the quality of water. It was just the slight odor that may have been experienced, which has all been rectified by now.
Okay. Hey, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, next report of the mayor. We've gone 2 hours and 12 minutes. I'm not going to give a report. Is there any notice of motion? Seeing none, meeting closed to the public resolution.
That council moves into a meeting close to the public at 9:12 PM for the purpose of considering the following reports. Chief Administrative Officer Report CAO 14-25, Succession Planning Potential. Chief Administrative Officer Report CAO 15-25, Industrial Land Disposition. Human Resources Manager Report HR 01-25, CAO Performance Review 2024. And that consideration of these items is closed to the public pursuant to Section 239B and D of the Municipal Act as amended, as the subject matter pertains to personal matters about an identifiable individual, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, and labor relations or employee negotiations.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, Councilor Desrosiers and Councilor Roselach. All those in favor? As carried. There'll be a brief recess. Can we have a resolution coming out of closed?
The council do rise from a meeting closed to the public at 9:42 PM and reports the following: that council received for information the reports from the chief administrative officer regarding succession planning, industrial land disposition, as well as the report from the human resources manager regarding the CIO performance review 2024, and that council provided direction to staff regarding these reports.
All right, thank you. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Barber and Councillor Barber. All in favor? Carried. Resolution to, what's the resolution for?
That council do now adjourn at 9:42 PM.
Mover and seconder, Councillor DeSozier and Councillor Chapman. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.